Hi, it's Derek Jones with another Fusion 360 tutorial, and what I'm going to show you today is how to make a very simple mold for investment casting or chocolate casting or whatever you wanted to do. And you could machine both sides of these, but today our focus is 3D printing. So it's important when you design a mold to design the piece to work in the mold, especially with 3D printing. So we want to design the ring first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some lines, and we're going to work on the front plane. And the first line I'm going to draw is going to be right there, and I'm going to go 300. And then I'm going to come out, um, and I'm going to come out zero point 0.4 of an inch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a construction line, and that just means that it's a measurement line. And then I can go sketch dimension, and I know that it's 0.4. Okay, so there's the first thing that I'm going to do. Now what I want to do is I actually want to do a 3-point arc, and I'm going to click here and here, and I want this to have just the slightest bevel right there, and you will see why in a minute. And I'm going to do it again on this side, but it's going to be a lot wider. Okay, let's see. Let's go. Actually, I want to do something different, so I'm going to do a line. You'll see why in just a second. Okay, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to trim this line out, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch another line here, and you will see why in just a second. So what I've learned when making rings in the past is you've got to have a bevel or your finger will not come back out. So what I want to do now is I want to go to Create, Revolve. I'm going to select this piece as the profile, this piece as the axis. Okay, this is a one side new body. Boom. And there is our ring. Okay. Now I don't like these sharp edges, so I want to get rid of those. So I will come back to fillet. I'll click that piece and that piece, and I'm just going to take a little bit off, and that's too much. I don't even want that much, so I'm just going to do 2, and that is perfect right there. That is what I want. Okay, so I have softened this ring, and I want to soften these two edges. So see if I can do that. I'm going to fillet that piece and that piece. See if I can find a happy medium. Let's go 0.8 and see what it does. And I think I like that better. Okay, so there is our ring. And what I'll do now is I'll go to modify physical material, and I'm going to click on metal. And just because I'm not actually working with gold, but it looks cool in gold, I'll scroll down here to gold. I'll drag this over here. Then I'll close this, and we will go to render. And this will show us what our ring. This is what the mold is going to be built around. So let's go back to model now and go to the top, and we'll bring it back to its regular orientation. If you want to look at it from the home view, it's very good looking blank. So I'll rotate this back around. Now what I got to do is I need to go to right click, new component, new component. And from bodies, I want to go create component from bodies. So this body, the third one that I should have done this first, is the actual ring. Okay, so we're going to name that one ring. Then we're going to click on this one. It's going to be bottom. And this one's going to be top. So we've got three components. Okay. Now, for the bottom is what we're going to work with next. I want to go sketch, rectangle, 2-point rectangle. I'm going to work from the bottom plane. Okay. And I want some room, so I'm going to go about here, and I'm just going to try to make it fairly equal. 2 by 3. Let's do. probably work right there. And that should do it right there. Okay, so this you can see is underneath our ring, and we're working from the bottom. So now I want to go to modify. I'm going to press pull. I want to go negative 25, or let's just go negative. Let's go negative 30. That gives us some room to work with. So there's that one. And then I want to go to press pull this side, and I'm going to bring this up 1.5. So that's halfway of our 0.3 ring. So we'll hit OK, and there we have a bottom mold. Okay. Now, there's two ways I can do this. I'll show you what I think is the easiest way, and then we can go from there. If we render, you will see the ring is sitting halfway in this mold. Okay, it looks like something from Lord of the Rings or I don't know. But anyway, we'll go back to model. Okay, so now I want to go to top, and I'm going to click, well, I'm going to go to top, and I'm just going to draw these out first. Go to sketch, rectangle 2-point. I'm going to click on the face of the bottom, drag the corner, going to match the distance, the size, length and width of the other one. Go to modify, press pull, and I'm going to bring this up 0.45. That gives it roughly equal mold size and enough strength to do what we're doing. Okay. So now, before we get too crazy, what I want to do is I want to come back to the top, and I'm going to add some pressure retaining holes. 200, 200, 200, 200. And I want to modify, press pull this one, this one, this one, and this one. And what these are going to do is allow us to clamp the mold shut. And this will help us keep the cavity. All right, so we've got our holes all the way through now. Let's get rid of the top for a second, okay? And we're going to go back to the bottom. Now, what we want to do is go to modify, combined. The target body is the bottom piece. The tool body is the actual ring itself. We do not want to join. We want to cut, and we want to keep components, keep tools. Okay, so we'll hit OK. We want to keep tools, so we'll hit OK. Now, if we blank out the ring, you can now see the cavity that the ring is supposed to go in. Okay. So there is the actual ring blank itself, and we could actually just copy this whole piece, reverse it, and slap it around. But I'm not going to do that. I'll do this the long way, and then you can always watch another tutorial and figure out how to copy and paste. I'll have one of those shortly. Let's go to the top. We're going to blank out the bottom. We're going to bring the ring back, and we're going to bring the top back. And we're going to go to Model, Modify, Combined. Tool body is this. Target body is the mold itself. We're going to cut, keep tools, and boom. Blank out the ring, and we've got a second half of our mold. All right, so now if we click this all on, we can go to Modify, Physical Materials, and what I want to do is I want to go to Plastic, okay? And the reason why is it's easier to look at this if you make it a transparent, and I like this phenolic resin, just resin for short. If you go to Render, you can see the two halves of your mold and the gold ring inside. Now, when I print this in 3D, it is not going to be transparent, but you get the concept of what you're working with. This makes it easier to actually draw. So we'll go back to model now, and now what we need to do is we need to blank out the top and come back to the bottom side. Now, it's important to put mounting lugs on this piece. So what we want to do is we want to go to sketch, circle, center diameter, and normally what you want is equal space. That is not what you want with a mold. You want this mold only to work one way so that it can't be screwed up. So we do that by doing a 200 here, 400 there, and maybe another 283 there. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to modify, press pull. We're going to do this one, this one, this one, and we're going to bring those out 0.125, just 1/8 of an inch. And now what I want to do is I want to go to bring top back, and we're going to go back through that same thing. We're going to modify, combined. The tool body is the bottom. The target body is the top. We want to cut, keep tools, and boom. We'll come back, we'll blank out the bottom, and you can see that we've cut mounting holes in here. Now, for ease of putting together, I'm just going to put a fillet on these outer edges of 0.2. And let's go 0.4. And all that's going to do is let us put these pieces in a little bit easier. So now on the bottom, I want to do the same thing, but on its mounting pieces. And this is just for 3D printing. If you were going to machine this, you probably wouldn't need to worry, but the tolerances for printing are not as good. So this just helps those pieces pop together. You still have plenty of meat to actually line them up. It's just easier to get them in place. So let's bring this back and let's go to render. And we'll look at it again. So now you can see that we've got the mounting holes, we've got the clamping holes, but we need a way to pour the product into this. Okay, so let's go back to model now, and we're going to get rid of the top. So we're looking at the bottom part of the mold. Now, my experience has been that you want a very large pouring chamber to get a lot of product into the mold fast. So what I want to do now is I'm going to bring the top back, okay, and I am going to sketch a rectangle, 2-point rectangle, and it's going to go let's see, gotta look at this, make sure I'm not cutting through any of my lugs. I'm not. Totally safe. Go back to model. So what I want to do is I want to blank out the top, and I know that my ring is roughly in the center here. I'm going to go to sketch, circle, center diameter. I'm going to select this piece right here, go to the center of the ring. I want this to be a good sized chamber. And now what I want to go to is modify, press pull. I'm going to click on, I don't want that. Oh, it went to fillet. Modify, press pull, this piece, and we're going to go down and we're going to put an angle of -20 on the taper. And what that does is that gives us a contact with the ring. Not quite enough. Let's go to -25. Let's go to -30. And then I am just going to drag this into the ring cavity itself. Okay? And then I'm going to bring the top back and I'm going to cut. Now if I look in the hole here, I can see that it's going to pour into the ring cavity. So now if we go back to model and render, you can see we have a nice pour chamber that'll give us a decent sprue to help get this piece out. Okay? And that's why we've done that. And so, all right, that's only part of this. Now we actually need to put some vent holes in so that we can get the ring out and get all the product into the ring and make a decent mold. Okay, so what I want to do now, okay, so now what we want to do is we want to put some vent holes that will allow the molten wax to push the air out so that you get a full fill. And so we want to blank out the top view. We're looking at this from a bottom. And the easy way to do this is, for me, in my opinion, is to do a new component, and we're going to put this as vents. Okay. All right. Now, what we want to do is we want to take a sketch. We want to do a rectangle, 2-point, continue. We're going to do on the face here. Okay. We're going to blank out the ring. We're just going to slightly overlap. And then we will do that. And that, and maybe one more right there. Okay. And now all we're going to do is we're going to modify, press pull this piece, that piece, that, and that. Okay. And now we're going to modify, press pull, ink. I just did this. Do it again because I did it wrong. This. And Fusion 360 is great because it's really forgiving. And we're going to take this down 0.2. Oh, we didn't do it right. We should have cut it. Again, I made another mistake. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go modify, press pull. This piece, this piece, this piece. I need to cut here, here and here, here, here and here. And I want this to cut. And I'm going to go down pretty far. All right, now if we look at this, you have these 3 big holes. And all this is going to do is allow wax to flow and pour evenly. And I know this bottom one looks weird, but trust me, by the time the wax hits the bottom, it plugs real fast. So let's fillet this to make it a little easier to get the mold out. Let's go get rid of the bottom and go to the top. Do the same thing on this side. Modify, fillet, 0.02. Okay. And I wonder, I probably can make this edge right here. Yeah, that's good enough. It's good enough for what I'm going to do. Okay, so if we bring everything back now and we go to render, you can see that what we've got is we've got a mold with 4 screw holes, okay, to clamp it shut. We've got 3 alignment hole pin dowels, what you ever want to call. If you get rid of the ring, you have a cavity, a pour chamber with several vents. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go print this, and you'll see just how easy it is to actually produce a wax ring. I don't have the right casting wax here today, but this should work for what we were trying to do today. So bear with me, and we'll get ready to do that. So what I want to do now is I want to go to model, and I want to save this. So I'm going to save this as ring mold, and I'm going to save it in my file. Boom, there it is. Now what I need to do is I need to come in and I need to export. I need to right click on the bottom half, export, save as STL. I'm going to save it as binary and high and hit OK. Now you can put it whatever file you want. The one I'm working out of right now is Kabaobao. So that's the bottom. And I want to replace it because I did this earlier and it didn't work. So I'm just going to replace it. And then I'm going to do top. And the same thing. Save as an STL, binary, hi. It's going to go in Kabao, and I'm going to replace top, save, and I want to replace it. Okay, so now I have the copies of both sides of this in my file. So now I'll move it to my 3D printer. So let me 3D print this and we'll give it a shot. So hold on just a second. Okay, so I printed it out on my XYZ printer. I even made a mistake and printed at a slight angle, and it turned out just fine, even though it had to build a weird raft. That was kind of a good test for the printer. You can see that it, with just a little fitting, it matched up pretty good. I could use screws on this, but I'm actually just going to clamp it and see how that does. So let's pour some, we're just going to pour candle wax in it and see how it works. And I designed this to use screws, but for just now I'm going to clamp it because it's really fast. So now I'm going to pour this and see how it goes. And I really can't pour and take video at the same time, so you'll have to let me do this, then I'll bring it right back. So I found that pouring temperature is just important as it is with anything else. And so you really want to, I got the wax molten, but I'm going to just let it hit a touch of cool so that it doesn't run like water. So I'm letting it thicken up just a touch. Alright, so I poured it, and none too accurately, might I add. And again, this is just cheap candle wax. This isn't even modeling wax, but I've got the cavity filled, so we will see how it turns out here in just a second. Okay, so there is the molded ring, and there's an air bubble, but nothing I can't pinch. Like I said, this is more of a blank than anything, so it definitely works. And this, like I said, this is just candle wax. If you got some real casting wax and spent some time, the one thing that you could do is you could acetone treat your mold to take the ridges out of the equation, and that might make releasing the product a little easier. I have to be very careful to pop these out. So anyway, if you like what we've done, please subscribe. If you got questions or comments or better ideas, I love dialogue, so let me know. See you next time.